consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
That was the voice of David Prowse, the 6'6" English bodybuilder who donned the Darth Vader suit in all 3 films of the original Star Wars trilogy. On set, Prowse was concerned that his voice was being muffled up by the mask, but George Lucas assured him that all of his lines would be re-recorded later in the studio. And they were. Just not by Prowse. George Lucas had a quote-unquote deeper, darker sound in mind. He wanted the voice of esteemed and classically trained stage and film actor Orson Welles.
Be melodramatic.
Star of The Third Man, creator of Citizen Kane, one of the most famous actors and filmmakers in the world. But on second thought, Lucas feared Welles' voice would be too recognizable.
And must this great public be regaled with a hanging?
And so Lucas turned to another actor, whom he'd heard about through a couple of screenwriter friends of his. It was March 1st, 1977, and a 43-year-old James Earl Jones walked into a recording booth at Goldwyn Studios to lay down some of the most iconic lines in cinematic history.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
2.5 hours later, Jones walked out with a check for $7,500 and not so much as a credit in the movie. As a matter of fact, for another 20 years, James Earl Jones would remain uncredited in A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, with the actor's own blessing. Jones considered David Prowse to be the true actor behind the character of Vader, thinking of his own performance as little more than a special effect.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
But of course, the voice of Darth Vader is so much more. What Jones and Lucas managed to achieve in just 2.5 hours in a sound booth was nothing short of culture-changing, breathing life into what would become possibly the most recognized villain in cinema. And how did they do it? Well, according to Jones, by keeping things relatively simple. Vader, says Jones, is a man who never learned the beauties and subtleties of human expression, so he figured out the key was to keep it on a very narrow band of expression. On the original Star Wars, this approach was something of a product of necessity. Jones and Lucas simply didn't have the time to explore the character's history, his psychology, the characteristics that make us human, that make us complicated. These were facets Jones later admitted he hoped to explore when it finally came time to record for The Empire Strikes Back, but George Lucas said no. Whatever they had done before, that's what Lucas wanted again. Yet despite these constraints, there remains a clear mastery to Jones's vocal performance. I mean, no doubt Hayden Christensen was performing his dialogue as a burgeoning Darth Vader on a very narrow band of expression too.
Me, a master. I'm overwhelmed, sir.
Just maybe not quite to the same level of cultural impact.
That's just a little joke.
Now, James Earl Jones and his legendary timbre aren't the only ingredients to comprise the sound of Darth Vader. Vader is menacing due one part to his physical suit and stature, one part to the bass of Jones's voice, and another part to what lies beneath them. His cold, mechanical breathing. And for that, we can thank this guy, Star Wars sound designer Ben Burtt, who took the description of an oddly filtered voice made through a complex breathing mask from George Lucas's script and brought it to life by breathing into the regulator of a scuba tank. Burtt is also responsible for recording the playback of Jones's vocal tracks in rooms of various sizes in order to achieve the effect of the lines being spoken from inside of a mask. Darth Vader is iconic for so many reasons, thanks not only to Jones, or Prowse, or Burtt, or even Lucas, but to the trilogy's cinematographers, to John Mollo and Brian Muir, who constructed Vader's suit and mask, to Star Wars conceptual artist Ralph McQuarrie, and to the samurai of Akira Kurosawa's films that inspired Lucas. But had we gotten this?
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
instead of this.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
There's no knowing how the legacy of the character and the Star Wars franchise might have changed. Darth Vader's conception and the property of Star Wars as a whole is an exceedingly rare coincidence of history, and one that will no doubt continue to have an incalculable impact on popular culture for generations to come. Hey everybody, I'm Danny Boyd. What's your favorite Darth Vader quote? Leave a comment, and if you want to support me and the channel, the absolute best thing you can do is hit like and share this video with someone you think might enjoy it. It really, really does help. You can also support me directly at patreon.com/CinemaStix. Until next time.